Camera's on.
Can you hear us now? Man. Can you hear us now?
Let's get the side of Beasley's face out of that shot. Get out of the shot, Mutombo.
No. Is it placed back on? Did I scream no with them?
Yeah, you did.
That's fine, whatever.
As far as I know.
Can you guys hear us now?
Well, how do I get my face out of the shot? Now I got this weird lead.
Yes, there we go. Oh my goodness, we did it. Blowing the speakers up.
We don't care.
Okay, we're close. I can talk low. How about that? My ears.
Okay, well,
that's because you got sensitive ears anyway, Ryan. So, really loud, but yeah, we can hear you with some distortion.
That's fine.
Better than nothing.
The sound is very crunchy.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
The sound is very crunchy.
So it's probably all the buttons you were hitting over there. You hit one button. But how's you going to go back and figure out what buttons you hit? Can hear you, but it sounds like poo. Okay.
Scratchy distortion.
We're bringing the game down on some of these.
There's one time I was on Chickamauga. I pulled up.
It's double talking. Have you still got the computer?
Uh-oh.
The background? All right. Y'all struggling. How about now, guys?
Sure, that works.
We're gonna try this. We're still working.
I don't think it really matters.
Paul is doing a great job of pressing buttons and acting like he knows what's going on because none of us really know. So, Mac sound speaker on. Better now. Yay! Are we there? All right, guys. You guys tell us. Sounds much better.
Okay.
What the heck, man?
Don't touch nothing else.
Don't touch nothing.
She said.
Right there. Don't touch nothing else. Getting better. All right, listen, guys. Hey, I don't know what kind of crazy people you are to stay with us, following us through all that stuff, but we do appreciate you guys, and we're going to try this again. All right, we're going to try this again. So welcome, finally, to this episode of the Livewell on Fish North, Georgia. Sorry, guys, it's been so stressful. I done put a dip in. I mean, I don't smoke or nothing like that. Y'all just going to have to deal with it. My wife watches tonight. She's going to be like, why you got to be like that? But
I mean, we got Jeremiah to talk redneck there.
That's right.
He was so excited that
it's all good now, we hope. So nobody touch anything. But for you diehards that stayed, we do appreciate it.
Well, take us through the Mega Live thing.
The Mega Live thing, yeah, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go over this real quick. Let me get to this. Now, this ain't the norm. It does happen from time to time, but we appreciate you guys that are watching. If you watch this at a later episode and you're one of the people that pulled it up and you actually sat through that 15 minutes to get to this, hey, we appreciate you too. If you're watching on Facebook, yeah, that's right, we're here for the Mega. If you're watching on Facebook, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Put your name in so we can recognize you as something other than Facebook user. And tonight's episode, it's been crappy so far, but we're going to talk some more about crappie fishing as we go along. But I am going to go ahead and get this out of the way, just in case it goes down. Not that Kyle and them are not important.
Now that we're running,
We're good. We're good. So yeah. So here's what we're going to. Hand me that piece of paper right there, Beasley.
The
hold on. I planned on reading this about halfway through the show, but since we're about there already,
it's like an avalanche.
Yeah, it's like that. Snowball's headed downhill now. So all right,
get out of Danny's shot,
Beasley. Come on now, come on, Beasley. Spin that thing down. I mean, we look like we have never ever done this before.
Not once.
No, this is the first time, guys. So we got nobody here now. All right, so you see the Mega Live right here. So here's what we're doing. All right.
There's the Mega Live. Kyle, could you point to the Mega Live, please, in case people can't see?
Right there.
The Mega Live.
Right there.
Oh, is that?
This one right here. This is the Mega Live. If you know anything about Humminbird products right now, they're hard as hell to get a hold of, and we got these in. They just showed up one day. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to raffle it off, okay? We're going to do it for charity. You guys know around here, we may not be able to put a podcast on worth of crap or a live well, but we do a heck of a job at raising money because we've got the best viewers and followers on our YouTube and our Facebook and our entire community. So we're going to be raising some money. At first, I was just going to do this because somebody brought it up, and I thought it sounded like a great cause, but it's kind of touched home here lately. We're raising money for the Virtue Recovery House. Okay, it's located in Cartersville, Georgia. It's an intensive outpatient program for addiction, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. If it hasn't affected your direct family, you know somebody that has a problem with this, and we're going to raise money for this new facility up there to help them get started to serve the Cartersville area. I know our base is kind of in the Lake Lanier area and stuff like that, but it really don't matter where it's at. Okay, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing that we're going to do, and it's a good thing that these people are doing. Now, I said it kind of touched home a little bit. We had a family that we know recently lost a son to an overdose. And imagine getting that phone call as a father or a mother and having that happen. So it really touched home. Like I said, I've been planning on doing this for a month or so, but it really touched home. I've never experienced anything like that. And it saddens me that this is going on in the world, and we really need to try to do our best to help out those in need. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Starting tonight and running through Easter Sunday. Okay, we're going to do a drawing Easter Sunday night at 8 p.m. I couldn't think of a better day to actually give away something. Okay, so we're going to do this. You can buy the tickets in the store, or you can contact me, and you can pay us through PayPal or Venmo and for the tickets. And what I will do is I will write your name and number on the ticket. I'll take a picture of them, and I'll send you your numbers, okay? And they'll all go into a box, and we'll be doing this drawing. And $5,000 is my goal. I want to raise $5,000 for the Virtue Recovery House, and we're going to do it. I've already talked to some people. I know it's not going to be a problem. So here, it's not an auction. It's not an auction, but now we can auction it. We'll first bid starts off $5,000. So here's
like a reverse auction.
Hey, I've done a reverse auction. We need to do those. So here's what we're going to do. One ticket's $20. Okay, one ticket is $20. For $50, you get 3 tickets. For a $100 donation, you get 7 tickets. Okay, and like I said, they're going to go into the pot starting tonight, and on Easter Sunday, after everybody is done their whatever it is you like to do on Easter, that particular Sunday, it's April 17th. At 8 p.m., I'm going to come up here to the store. I'm going to go live on our Facebook Fish North Georgia group page, and I'm going to draw the winning name out of the hat, and I'm going to give them this mega live. It's about, what, $1,500? I think the $14.99 is the retail. So, and if you've been trying to get one, you know how hard they are to get. So we hope that you guys will support that. If you think $20 is right now, $20 is 2 meals at McDonald's. I mean, seriously, Taco Bell or something with taxes. It's 2 meals. So give up 2 meals or something over the next month and get you a ticket. You have a chance to win, but you're doing something good for our overall community. And again, I tell everybody, when you give, it makes you feel better. It does the world better. And if we can help these people out, but I'm going to be putting a lot more information on the Fish North Georgia group page and all that with more details. So, you can PayPal me or Venmo me at Danny at Fish North Georgia, and we'll make sure we get you those things. So anyway, that being said, now for you guys that waited, it's time to talk about crappie fishing. First of all, let me say we had 3 guests scheduled tonight. One of them showed up. The important one showed up, Mr.
Right.
Kyle Reeves of ATX Lure Company. He's here in the house. If I don't,
Your fans, Kyle.
How's it going?
Yeah. Hey,
finally, it's
we
working.
can do this. Hey, Jeremiah, listen, if you donate and win, sell it. I don't care. I can sell it. So, Kurt We Hunt, that's right. There's millions of them. And like I said, two lunch meals at McDonald's. It's 4 cans of dip. It's probably 2 cans of cigarettes. I mean, if you got those things, I don't know. It's not a lot of money.
It's less than 1 megabyte.
It is less than 1 megabass. That's exactly right. So, and you guys share this around. Like I said, I'm going to be posting it a lot. We're going to raise $5,000 for these people at the Noe Outdoor Show. I actually got to meet the people that run it, and I actually got to meet 2 of the patients that were in there who had gone through the program and are now recovered and on the road to hopefully a good long life, and they're turning right around and putting their time back into it and helping out others. So just don't be a selfish person. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, you know, world's got enough of this. So y'all be a light to somebody and help us out, help us raise this money, and we will do what is right. So that being said, so now back to Crappie. We had a couple guests. We got stood up at the altar by a couple of them. I'll deal with them tomorrow. And but anyway, Kyle's here, and Kyle's the one that, you know, he's the expert. And if you've watched, we did a show with you a couple of times. You've been on.
Yep, a few times.
And we've talked crappie fishing. But right now in the state of Georgia and pretty much the southeast United States, it's about that time.
Yep.
It is about that time. And even Beasley was upstairs talking about crappie fishing a little bit too. So he's going to talk tonight.
I don't know anything about crappie fishing.
That's good.
That's good. So you
I
here.
accidentally catch crappie.
Plenty of questions.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. So
All right.
for those of you that don't know, Kyle owns ATX Lure. They originally started in Texas.
Yep, that's right.
And he's moved out here to Georgia. And so it's a fast growing brand. We carry him here at Fish North Georgia. They carry him at other Buford Dam Bait and Tackle. Any other Lake Lanier stores?
Cherry's Bait and Barbecue.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go. So you can go.
Cherry's doesn't get enough love.
Yeah.
I need to get my True Grit jigs in there. That's what I need to do. And then that way. But anyway, you can go get you some barbecue and get you some ATX lures while you're at it. And
that's right.
You know, and we're going to talk more about his products here in a little bit. But we're also going to, you know, kind of give a overall view of Crappie, how he goes about him, and some of the tournament stuff like that. And I personally love the crappie fish. I'm old school. I'm still a minnow guy, you know, as a lot of them are. But there's nothing better than to get a big old slab. And I want to read you these stats a little bit, just something I looked up on Crappie before we let Kyle get to talking. So if you're worried about your diet and eating crappie, okay, seriously, this is something important. Everybody likes fried crappie, but there's other ways to cook them. Crappie has a higher fat and protein content than most freshwater fish. Did you know that?
I did not.
Did you know? You know how many calories is in a 3-ounce portion of crappie?
No idea.
103. Of those 103, it has 8 grams of fat and 20.3 grams of protein in a 3-ounce serving. Did you know that?
I did not.
So for those of you that are like me that are doing carnivore or keto diet, kind of like that, hey, you ain't got to fry it. You can fry it with coconut flour or whatever the hell some of them hippies use to bread their stuff and all like that. But you can put it on that. So nicknames. Now, we've talked about this. I always love this.
Yeah.
All right. So you go ahead and tell me the nicknames of Crappie that you know, and then I'm going to read you some more that I picked up today.
Okay. So Crappie, obviously.
Crappie. We have this argument every time.
You know, I mean, outside, like I said, outside of Georgia, it's Crappie.
It is. That's something I learned.
Everywhere in Georgia, it's Crappie.
It's Crappie in Georgia. It's Crappie everywhere else.
In Florida, it's
Specks. Yep, Florida
Specks.
Mainly because they only have black crappie, and kind of like most of the places here, Florida only has black crappie in all of their rivers, systems, and lakes and things. Louisiana, they call them sac-a-lait.
Sac-a-lait.
Is another,
Cajuns.
Right. Some people, it's more of a South Alabama area. They call it white perch, even though white perch is a species of fish, not around here. I think so. You can catch them in actually South Carolina and places, but they call them white perch, even though it's not a white perch because that's
exactly right.
Fish. I mean, you know, people call them slabs. People call them, you know,
some people call them a nuisance.
That people
call them a nuisance.
Yeah, that's true.
Specs for us followers. Listen to this. So this is from Wikipedia. Now, paper mouth.
Not fooling us with that Florida line, Mr. California.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kurt, we hunt. Dodgers suck. That's all I'm going to say to that.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Anyway, I mean, listen, I love what the Braves did, and Freeman can go do whatever it is, but I still hate the Dodgers anyway. I've hated them from the time they used to be in the same division with Atlanta growing up. All right, so here, paper mouth.
Yep.
We've heard paper mouth.
Yep.
How about this one? Strawberry bass.
What?
I have heard that, but not a lot. I've heard it like once or twice.
Strawberry bass.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Why would you call it crappie? Crappie, a strawberry bass. But
I'm not sure where that one's from. Yep.
Or speckled bass.
Haven't heard that one.
Haven't heard that one. Speckled perch.
Yeah.
You kind of
specs. That's what spec's short for. Yeah.
White perch. You know, kind of like that. Now here's two that kind of a calico bass.
I think that's an actual species
that's an
of
ocean
bass.
fish.
Yeah, that's an actual species of bass.
It is. A lot of people call it crappie, whatever you call it, a calico bass, and an Oswego bass.
Again, I thought that was an actual species of
hell. I don't know.
Of bass too.
It ain't from Georgia.
Yeah, no,
you know. So, but anyway, so those were the nicknames of crappie. Now, what do you think the best prime spawning temps are for crappie? I want to see if Wikipedia is right.
I mean, so normally, because they say, white and black crappie, they spawn at different times, right?
Okay.
And
we'll go over the differences in those in a little bit.
But it's usually 60 to 65, low to mid 60s is
okay. You're not too far off.
Is what they say, but I mean it just depends because in the morning it's cooler, in the afternoon it gets warmer, right? So
yeah, right.
It's
when the dogwoods bloom is what I grew up.
Yep.
If the dogwoods are blooming, the crappie are biting. All right, but according to Wikipedia, that great resource of knowledge that anybody can taint, 68 to 72 degrees. Now they didn't say water temp. I'm going to assume we're talking air temp because it may be.
I would hope. Yeah, that seems kind of high to me.
I thought so too.
If it was that high, I mean, I would still maybe fish on the banks at that water temperature.
Yeah,
you're not going to catch. You'll catch probably a bunch of males, a bunch of small males,
right
up there.
Okay.
But
and according to
Wikipedia, a little warm for me.
and according to Wikipedia, spring is the best time for both males and females because of the spawn. All right,
yes.
So. That is some knowledge. If anybody wants to look up crappie from Wikipedia, I don't know how good that all is, but it kind of lays a little foundation for us like that. So, white crappie, black crappie.
Yeah.
Predominantly in the state of Georgia, it's black crappie.
Yes.
Outside of the state of Georgia, maybe outside of Florida a little bit, it's white crappie.
Yeah, it depends. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. The North Carolinas, most of those, I mean, you can find some places that have white crappie, but majority is black. So, like in Georgia, that I know of, there's Lake Blackshear has white crappie. Hartwell has white crappie.
What's the
Clarks
difference?
Hill.
What's the difference?
I mean, the dorsal fins, the some of their difference there. As far as a lot of people ask, does they taste different? No, I mean, I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, they all taste the same to me. Right.
Right.
But, I mean, there are some, scientific differences, obviously other than the way they look, obviously. Right?
To a naked eye, other than the coloring, can you tell? Just the dorsal fins?
Yeah, if you count them. I mean, I don't, but I usually go by what they look like. So, the white crappie have the vertical bars for the most part.
Uh-huh.
The black crappie are going to be speckled for the most. That's why they call them specks in Florida and other places, right?
Right.
Now I did see the post that was going around recently of the Alatoona lake record, right? That they say that they're calling white crappie, which I'm almost 100% sure that is a black crappie. But if they did a DNA test on it, then sure. But how it looks, it was somebody online can probably say. I think it was 306 or 307 or something like that. I think.
Do you know off the top of your head what the lake or the state records are for black and white crappie?
I do not.
Okay. So black, and I found this interesting too because of the dates when they were caught.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the state record is a tie between two people for black. I don't know why I'm hiding this from you, like you're trying to cheat.
I mean, I'm assuming it's that's over 4 pounds.
4 pounds, 4 ounces.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But here's why I find it interesting with the invention of all this technology now that it hasn't been broke.
Mm-hmm.
June 1st, 1971.
Yep.
That's before I was born. And March 1975. Now, that's a long time with the way technology and equipment and everything is advanced. I'm kind of shocked that hasn't been broke yet. I don't know. How about white crappie?
So the state record, right?
State record.
I mean,
and any of you guys can guess too without Googling
I would say, I mean, around that, it may be closer to 5.
5 pounds even.
5 even. Okay.
5 even.
Yeah.
1984.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, I know of guys that go and we'll talk about the Grenada Lake here a little and all that, but I'm kind of shocked in Georgia that it's not a little bit bigger. And I mean, what's the biggest crappie you ever caught?
Me, I've only caught probably 2 3/4 pounds, probably the biggest I've caught.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I need to get you on Latham.
You do. I've been telling.
I
you
know.
that
I got to get you on.
forever.
There are 3-pounders in Hickory Log and Latham. So, I see that. So technology doesn't make fish grow big. It doesn't.
That's true.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I find it interesting that you have to believe that there are fish that big out there.
Mm-hmm.
With technology, I'm shocked that they haven't been caught. They haven't been found. And I know it takes a great certain all the ingredients of a lake to make them big like that. So right now, so let's talk right now, because a lot of people are this is the time of year.
Yep.
People now are posting on the group page pictures of some nice ones. They're coming. They're getting ready to spawn, come up. How are you, and how can you share to others? How are you targeting these fish right now? What are you doing to try and catch them?
So for me, just because I have live scope, and that's what I use most of the time on the front of the boat. I like to target suspended fish, that are roaming around, kind of suspended out, anywhere from right now they're going to be up shallower. So I've been catching fish in anywhere from 7 foot deep, but they would be suspended maybe 4 foot. Okay. This past weekend, with the water temperature going down because it was so cold this weekend. That's right. I think when I got on the lake, the water where I was fishing was high 40s, so it was still cold. Yeah, it was cold. I found more fish in the 12 to 15 foot range, and they were right on the bottom because of the cooler weather. They weren't really suspended high; they were more on the bottom. Okay. So with live scope, I'm able to kind of see that because I'm watching them. As they they're not really swimming fast; they're more just suspended. They may be swimming, but they're not going.
Are they structure oriented right now?
Not right now, unless on laydowns you can. As they're getting on the banks, you can catch them on laydowns and things like that. They'll continue to get there more often. What I would assume right now, if you were catching them on laydowns and things, they're probably mostly males.
Okay.
And
so typical
when you catch
like
them,
bass, the males move up first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then and they'll be dark for now. Or we caught a few males this past weekend when we put them in the live well. They were normal color, but by the time they went in the live well with the water warmer, they had turned black.
So they turn darker as the water warms up.
Yeah, the males do.
Okay.
This time of year.
All right. That's interesting. Now, so for a suspended fish right now, what are you using as far as baits to target them?
So I'm using jig heads. I'm using light. I'm letting it fall very slowly because to me, fishing on linear, they seem to like slow baits. They don't like fast moving fast things, right? So I use a 1/32 ounce or 1/24 ounce jig head.
So really light.
For the most part, yep. And then I'm using either the 2-inch baby shad, which is a standard size.
This is the baby shad.
Yeah.
If you watched the fishing reports the other night, which you probably didn't, did you?
Yeah, I did. Well, did you? I caught some of it. Yeah.
Did you see the part where I held up your baits?
I did. Yeah. So I did.
On ATX baby shad, typical kind of front on the back, it's just got one little appendage, and so it's chartreuse color, so you can see it, and so it's a 2-inch long total in bait.
Yep.
2-inch long. So you put that on a really light jig head.
Yep.
All right. I'm assuming you're going to use fluoro. No, that's right.
I use braid. Yeah, I'll use 5-pound braid.
Yeah, I need to ask you about that. Okay, because a lot of people, especially in Lanier, Clearwater, stuff like that.
Yep.
Fluoro. Yeah. You mentioned upstairs before the show that you go braid straight to the jig head.
Yep.
That doesn't affect Crappie at all.
Not at all.
Then why do people insist on using fluoro?
I guess that's preference, or that's what they've always been told to do it that way.
In no situation do you do that.
No, I use the only time I use fluoro is if I'm using a slip cord, because I can't, you can't tie, the little knot or whatever you want to use when you do slip cords on braid because it slides. That's the only time I use fluoro. Everything else is always braid, and it's just straight to the jig head.
Okay, and what brand of braid do you use?
I use K9, K9 Fishing Products. They're right out of Nashville, Tennessee, so they're not far behind.
Right.
Or far behind. They're not far away.
Ryan in the comments is mentioning bluegrass.
Bluegrass, yep. That's another
probably one of your best sellers. That milk,
for sure. Yep.
So bluegrass, and this is a wicked shad, so it has 2 appendages. I use this the other night too. So I don't know if you can get that close to that camera right there, Beazle. See if you can kind of hold it up to my camera right there, and see if you kind of see that color. Get it where they can see the top. Oh, it's focused on me. So bring it back towards me. Bring it back towards me. But you can kind of see the color right there.
Yeah, you
So
can see the color.
blue over green. It's got some blue speckles in it and stuff like that. And then your milk color is a cloudy, kind of a cloudy white.
Yeah, but it's got a blue tint.
Got a blue tint. It's got some pepper in it, and you do a milk, and then you do a milk with green. So like that. So some of your better colors. So all right. So you're casting to these suspending crappie right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. What kind of action are you doing? What are you throwing it on? Your rod, your setup, everything like that. We know your line.
Yeah. So I use most of the time when I'm casting, I use a 5.6 or 6 foot rod. I actually do dock shoot with those as well.
Okay.
Light reel, 100, 1,000 series or 500 series, depending on which I have, but I use both of them with the 5-pound braid. And really, I'm casting, just casting to the fish. Make sure I can see on live scope the jig falling.
Yeah, and we actually have a video of that. We don't know if it's going to work, given the way tonight is gone. We may try it. Can you pull up? It's one of the first ones I sent to you. You ain't even download them. Yeah, well, I can understand that. We'll try to pull that up. Actually, he has sent, and I'll keep going. I don't know if you can still see me on the camera. They can? All right. So he sent me a few videos, and they're actually pretty. If you've ever used the live scope, stuff like that, you kind of understand it. But what's pretty cool is if we can get this video pulled up, you can actually see his bait. Now, I find it interesting. We're using very little baits, but they're showing up. You can see the actual fall.
You can, and I could have made it a little bit clearer because I was 70 foot out. That's the range that I was looking at.
Okay.
It was 70 foot out, and it was 15 foot is the bottom what I had. So I could have zoomed in because I was fishing with anywhere from 20 to 30 foot out. So I could have zoomed that in and it could have made it bigger.
Right.
But I didn't. I wasn't doing that. But yeah, you can still see, you can see it drop and fall. And that's what I look for. So right before, it gets a little above the fish, I just slowly reel to me. Sometimes I may twitch it or anything, but it's just a slow reel to make sure that it stays above, right at or above the fish. And with that light jig head, you can reel it slow and it stay there because it doesn't fall fast. So you can slowly reel it, right over the fish.
Right. And again, like I said, I don't know if we can do it or not, but I can kind of describe it to you just in case we can. You see the crappie on these, they were kind of lower a little bit.
Yeah,
so they were a little lower to the bottom.
Yep.
Here comes your bait. And you can see those fish basically tilt up, it looks pretty much.
Yep.
And then they just take off for it.
Yeah. Which normally doesn't happen on the Lanier a lot because I don't know if it's the clear water. They're very, you pretty much had to hit them on the nose for them to hit. But the past 2 weekends that I've been, and it could be, it's the springtime, they're getting a little more aggressive with the water temperature going a little hotter,
right,
a little warmer. So you see that on a lot of other lakes, but on Lanier, I don't know, it could be the clear water too, right? In my experience, they're not as aggressive as a lot of other lakes.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the other lakes in this area. Allatoona.
Yep.
What's the difference in Allatoona and Lanier?
Oh, Allatoona's not as clear. Or the times I've been on it, I haven't fished Allatoona a ton of times, but I've fished it a few. And it's not as deep, right? Or the places that I fish for the Crappie anyway is not as deep, not as clear,
right?
So they seem to, to me, a lot of people like to crappie fish in stained water more or less than clear water, right?
Okay.
Whatever reason, I mean, I fish in both because I, right beside Lanier, so it's always clear, right, for the most part. But
you grew up in Alabama, so is the water? Do they have clear water lakes like Lanier there? So,
no. They don't have any lakes at all, really, for the most part in South Alabama. It's more the river chains and things like that.
That's right. That's right. So what's up, farmer? What knot for a braid that small?
I just tie whatever you want to. I don't know the actual name, but it's just the regular fisherman's knot that that you do the wrap 4 times and you bring it through and bring it back through. Just a standard cinch knot. That's it, and it works good on that braid because it's so thin. A lot of people that tie loop knots and things. Yeah, because every jig head, I don't care what jig head you buy out there, there's going to be the opening on the jig on the eye, right? Right. So that braid's so thin when people tie loop knots on it. When they set the hook, it's always going to find that opening, and it always comes out.
Oh, you're saying because of the circle on the top
of the eye. Yep.
So you go ahead and tie the old fashioned.
So I tie the old fashioned. It doesn't because it stays right there, right? And a lot of people say it doesn't sit right in the water. The jig doesn't sit right when you do that, and I've caught just as much fish doing that.
You think people overthink it sometimes with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes it might. I mean, it's all in presentation. Sometimes it might work better than others, but I've always tied it that way, and I've
You do just
Caught
fine.
plenty of fish.
When you're casting at these fish, what kind of action are you imparting on it? Or are you just letting it fall?
I'm just letting it fall for the most part to get to them. Right now, like if I'm shooting docks and stuff, I'll kind of twitch it or tap the rod, which I mean it makes it move a little bit. You don't have to pull it real hard or anything like that. You can just tap the rod, and it'll make the jig move a little bit too. So it's all just slow retrieve for the most part because I'm using the lighter stuff. Now, if you're using heavier weights, obviously you got to reel it faster, which is the most reason why I use something light because I'm usually fishing shallower.
Gotcha. I noticed on yours, your baits are a little bit different because you do not have the curly tail.
Right.
You don't have any of the curly tails. Why is that?
So I do make a curl tail. I just don't sell as many of those as these styles.
What's the difference in as far as performance in your opinion?
Well, the curl tails have a lot of action, when they're going through the water. So in the past, I knew, and I don't troll. A lot of people troll,
right,
in this area for sure. Not so much on Lanier. I'm not sure why, but Allatoona and all these other lakes, a lot of people troll for crappie, right?
Do they do that spider rigging stuff?
They do that too. Yeah, but this when I say troll this way, they they're have 8 or however many rods they want, and they cast the jig out behind the boat and they just troll. They troll around, keep it at a certain depth.
Right.
Because the wintertime all the fish are suspended, right? So it's easier to catch them that way because they're all suspended. You can just troll, for miles and catch fish.
Right.
What I used to think, because I don't troll, but I knew people that did, they would use the curl tails because it has the action as it going through the water. It moves a lot. But nowadays, a lot of people I talk to that troll, they use straight tails to troll and things. And I'm just like, I didn't know that could work, but
it does.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A ton of people use them.
Okay.
To do that.
So, you probably don't do much trolling.
No, I don't troll at all. I single pole everything.
Single pole everything. Yeah. And when do the crappie start relating more to docks? Because I hear you talking about, shooting docks and stuff like that. When do crappie become more structure oriented?
Well, so you can catch crappie on docks year round.
Okay.
Just depending on, location, right? So right now they're probably showing shallow docks because again, they're getting ready to spawn. So they'll be under the shallow docks and things. In the dead of winter, I kind of like to search for deep docks that are close to creek river channels.
Right.
On Lanier anyway, 40 foot docks on river creek channels usually hold fish, and they'll be 10 foot down, maybe 5 to 10 foot under the dock in 40 foot of water. So
but you can use your live scope to sit back and kind of look under the dock.
Yeah, and docks that deep, it's easy to use your side scan too, right? Because you can drive right past the dock and you can see the crappie under it if there's any there in that deep of water.
Right.
Because with side scan in that deep of water, you have the black area under the middle of the boat, but the deeper you go, the further out that goes on the side. So you can actually see the fish in that black area instead of the the more of the bottom part.
I gotcha.
So it's a lot easier to see under docks when they're deep. So wintertime, that's a good place to check because on Lanier most of the crappie fishing is on docks.
Gotcha. So I got this question for Beazle because I'm gonna get him involved tonight with this tonight because you were talking. Everybody when we didn't have no audio saw that mouth just moving and moving and moving, and now we're on and you're quiet. So what kind of crappie fishing have you ever done in your life?
Just about nothing. I mean, farm ponds when we used to only do farm ponds.
Right.
And you go and you catch them on anything. I used to like to catch them on fly rod, so that was pretty fun.
Crappie on a fly rod.
Yeah, that woolly bugger.
Really?
Deadly,
okay, that's a little
deadly for him.
I've never heard of anybody fly fishing. Brim, yes. Crappie, no. But I guess it's possible. I mean, so as a bass angler,
all right,
who uses electronics and stuff extensively. What question would you have for like Kyle and how he uses his for crappie that could relate to you bass fishing?
I mean, well, looking at like the videos and clips he has, I mean, it's pretty darn similar to what us bass fishermen guys use it for.
Right.
I mean, it looks like you're just finding casting, doing all that, finding the structure they're on. I mean,
Paul's working hard back there. Paul's had a hell of a night so far right there, but we love you, Paul, and you just take a deep breath and it's all going to be good back there, baby. What Kyle sent me a couple videos, and we didn't know if it would pull up or not on this at all. So
it looks like it's something we should be able to do.
It does look like something. Well, we should be able to start with audio too, but we figured out, hey,
that was also not as easy.
Not as easy, yeah. So it is what it is. But what's pretty cool is again you're on the Garmin right now.
Yep. Yep.
So on his Garmin, he's got the screen. You can see the fish down there. You can see them moving, and you see that bait. And that's what blows my mind with this technology is because we're talking about the size baits that you're using.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, you didn't even have it in focus, and I still could watch that bait fall and watch the fish react to the bait.
Yep. And I was using even this particular time. I was using even bait smaller than that.
Really on these videos?
It was the new style that I have
that you haven't got out yet.
That I don't know. Still trying to decide if I want to.
You just gonna
it was working. It worked. I mean,
you're gonna be selfish and hold it to yourself.
No.
I know some guys that do that. And listen, hey, okay. So Michael Temples, how much time do you spend on the spot before you decide to move, even though you see fish on the live scope? Good question.
So that's probably going to depend on
when it feels
how
right.
I'm fishing.
Yeah.
Like when I say how I'm fishing, am I fishing for fun or am I tournament fishing? Right.
Okay. Let's say you're tournament fishing.
So if I'm tournament fishing, I've kind of been able to gauge a little bit from using live scope for a few years now. If it's a bigger fish versus if it's kind of small.
Okay. Similar to what you would do, Beasley, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would do that, and if I knew that it was a big fish, or a lot of the times the bigger fish aren't in as big groups as the smaller ones, right? So if you run up on a ton of fish, for the most part, now I've had some exceptions to that,
but for the most
part, if you run up on some fish and you see a ton of fish there, their majority going to be smaller. Versus if you find some that are grouped in like 4 or 5 or something like that, those usually will be the bigger fish.
Okay.
But anyway, if it's a big group of fish, I'll try to catch a couple anyway just to see, because I mean they're not always going to be small,
right?
But if it's a big group like that, I'll stay 5 or 10 minutes, really the most. Because if they're not going to bite within that, for those types of fish. Now, if I know it's a real big fish, I'll chase it around for a little while and throw tons of different stuff.
Just try to eventually get it like that. Mm-hmm. And while we're talking about tournaments, a little bit different from a bass tournament, but not much, in the fact that how many crappie do you weigh in?
Right. So you weigh in seven crappie in a crappie tournament.
Uh-huh.
And it's, your 7 biggest weights, right? We don't do measurements or anything like that.
So it's by weight.
Weights. Yep, by weight.
It is by weight. And I noticed in the comments when they were up a little bit ago, I saw the name Granada or Grenada, however it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tell us, and this is, guys, that listen to this, what he's going to tell you as far as the weights. Now, I would say the average tournament around here, 11, 12 pounds for 7.
Would be good.
Would be a good day.
Would be good, yeah.
All right. So recently, it was a 2-day tournament.
Yeah, last weekend. Yeah.
Last weekend. 7 fish limit, 2 days, so 14 total crappie.
Yep.
What was the weight?
The weight for the 14, the winning weight was over 44 pounds on 14 fish.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That is insane.
Yeah.
14 crappie. I might feed a family of 4 for a month right there. But okay, so 14 crappie at 44 pounds. So just 3 pound average or whatever the hell.
No, it's over. That's 20. That's 20. It's he weighed, the winning weight was 22 pounds was weighed in each day. So 21 pounds obviously is a 3 pound average, right? So after day one, after I've already added that up because I'm like, that's a lot of fish. So yeah,
that would.
So after the first day weigh in, the top 11 teams averaged over 21 pounds. They averaged over 3 pounds of fish. The top 11 teams. That's out of insane. And that was 170 boats is what fished that tournament.
The biggest crappie are actually caught on bass lures. I will say this: I have experienced that. Let me get to this question real quick before I get to that. When looking at a school on live imaging, what stands out to you that makes you say those are crappie?
So for the most part, it's going to be how close they are together. Kind of packed in. They're not going to be moving fast. So I don't bass fish, but when I'm out there fishing and I see fish moving, swimming pretty fast, I'm like, that's not crappie. They're not going to be swimming that fast for the most part.
Okay.
So they're going to be more just kind of suspended, kind of hanging out.
Right.
If it's in the summertime, it's going to be always on structure somewhere, brush piles, docks,
Right.
something. So they're not going to be swimming around, and they're not going to be, go even I've seen some bass on brush piles, but they're still swimming, right? They're swimming through the brush, coming back and forth, that kind of thing.
Right.
The crappie, they're just suspended. They're just there.
Over.
Yeah, they're not really swimming, moving really fast or anything like that.
Okay, that's good. So back to Jeremiah's comment about the big ones being caught on bass baits, and I'll attest to this. Everybody's heard me talk about the crappie at Latham. I've caught them on flukes. I've caught them on crankbaits. They have been caught on Kitex. So even though you're targeting with a smaller one, you can catch them. They're aggressive. I mean, they're a predator. So they're just like a bass kind of mentally, though. They're after that bait fish. They'll go, the bigger ones especially, they'll go get it.
Right.
And they can eat, that mouth opens up pretty good.
Oh, yeah. No,
They
yeah.
have no table manners whatsoever.
They'll hit 4 or 5 inch baits.
Yeah.
I mean,
my biggest
easy.
crappie ever was on a 1-ounce spinnerbait.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Seriously?
and then you see
go.
the big crappie that people post, like if they're out striper fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll catch they usually have a picture, one picture of a crappie they caught or whatever, and it's always big, right? Because, well, for one, you got to be that big if you're going to be out there with all stripers in the middle of the lake, right?
Agreed.
And two, I mean, that's what they eat. They eat the bigger, the bigger baits and things like that. So,
do you ever upsize on purpose if you think you see big ones on your live scope?
I will if they won't hit the smaller ones. I mean, most times they'll hit the smaller ones too. I mean, 2 1/4 is the biggest bait that I use around here. I have a 3-inch baits and things like that too, but I just don't.
But for the North Georgia area like that. Michael Temples, I know on Latham, usually the bigger fish stay in smaller packs, similar to what you just said. We catch them like that from time to time too. I've even caught them on a Ned rig, fishing a Ned on the upper end of Latham. And, in a tournament or something, we're fishing it, set the hook, and it's crappie. I actually caught one that was about, I don't know, Josh and I caught one in a tournament, had a string in its mouth. No lie. It caught a crappie and it still had a string in its mouth. If you were looking for crappie on Lanier and didn't have a live scope, where would you start?
So right now, it'd be lay downs close to the bank. Because they're starting to get on all of that, right? And they'll be there for a month and a half at least, probably.
During the spawn?
Yeah.
Do they make beds? Do they make beds like a bass or a brimwood?
They do.
Okay, so the male get out there and he'll fan up
right, and the male, and the males stay, right? So the females will go, they'll lay the eggs and they'll leave, right? And the males are the ones that stay to protect the eggs and those types of things. And a lot of times if you're fishing and you're catching a bunch of males on the bank, if you come off a little bit deeper, that's where normally the females they're out a little bit deeper. For
somebody like that, how would he know the difference between a male and a female?
So, well, right now if they haven't spawned yet, I mean, all the eggs that you can tell stomach wise what they are. Except, I have noticed the eggs that the fish have on Lanier their bellies are a lot smaller than a lot of other lakes around. Like, for example, all these big fish that are caught in Grenada, if you look at them, I mean, it's golf ball size bigger is what their stomachs
look like. They look like a spotted bass
because they have all the eggs.
They got that gut and all that like that.
Lanier the fish don't look like that.
Why do you think that is? Competition,
bait, because, I mean, there are, like I said, there are thread fins, right, in the lake, but not compared to lakes that primarily have thread fins as bait. Like Grenada, I mean, that's the shad that's there is unbelievable. Here you have, tons of other bait, tons of other fish kind of like that's out there, right?
I noticed in the fishing reports, again, Fish North Georgia group page on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m., I try to get as many local anglers and guides and stuff to give us a little bit of a report that's going on. So you guys, if you fish this weekend, feel free, again, and I can keep you incognito if you don't want anybody knowing, Beasley, where you're fishing and stuff like that. But you can give me some information on to help out just the common everyday angler. But we do these reports. But you guys watch that on Tuesday nights. If you give a report, I put your name in a drawing. I pull it out for $20 off at Fish North Georgia or TrueGrit.com. So, I try to at least give you the opportunity to be rewarded if, being unselfish and just helping other guys out, Beasley. That's some cool stuff too. But anyway, in your report, and Kyle gave us a crappie report that we read. You said something about, hey, if you guys are on Lanier and you're catching these females, let them go.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about the genetics or something like that. What are you talking about there?
So I mean the bigger, because if anybody crappie fishes on linear, I mean there's tons of 10, 11-inch fish out there. I mean tons, even smaller, right? But catching, and I have this year, I have seen more 2-pound fish caught out of linear than in the past. So it looks like it's getting better, that some bigger fish are going. But I mean, if you fish a lake that doesn't have a ton of 2-pound fish and you keep the ones you catch, I mean those are the fish, because obviously the 10-inch fish lay eggs too, right? But the ones that are bigger, I mean they have the genetics there to the eggs that they lay to be bigger as well. If you just release all the 10-inch fish that lay the eggs, I mean they're going to be more 10-inch fish.
Do you think people need to keep more of those smaller 10-inch fish out of it? Would that help?
I think so. I mean, I think it would. I mean, there's not a link limit on crappie in Georgia,
and it's a pretty healthy bag size as well.
Right, exactly. It's 30 fish, right? Is what you can keep. Yeah.
Is that kind of the same throughout all the other surrounding states?
So Alabama is 25, and they have a 9-inch limit. Except on Weiss, there's a 10-inch limit.
Okay. Is Weiss still the crappie capital of the world?
No.
Other than Grenada?
No. No. I mean, there's still a ton of fish over there, and people still catch big fish over there, but nothing like they used to.
Yeah, what happened?
Just, I think the amount of people that they've had for years, pressure that they've had for years and years and years, the pressure that it's had.
That's something that I've heard, that the pressure once the lake gets, and I imagine Grenada. Am I pronouncing it right? Is it Grenada?
People say Grenada. People say Grenada. Yeah. So, I mean, I think eventually it's going to happen, but we've been saying, everybody's been saying that for years, and this year they're catching. I mean, that's the biggest weight out of Crappie Masters tournament ever. Was what was weighed in last weekend. The year before it was close, but it wasn't that much.
But it might be the perfect storm of everything on that.
Right.
So like typical lake you don't have.
So like this year they weighed in. That 2 days there was 4 fish weighed in over 4 pounds in that tournament. That was the first time. Which
probably would have broke the record for well, they were probably white crappie.
Yeah, they were white. Yeah, okay. So that they've never weighed in a 4-pound fish in any Crappie Master tournament anywhere ever, even last year on that lake. So
and how many?
It's continued. 4. There was 4. That was
4.
Yeah, 4 over 4 pounds.
I got you.
So I mean, it's continuing to grow big fish. Right.
Any way to see the fishing reports on YouTube? Maybe one day we will take it over to that, but for right now it's just on the group page. I just do it live upstairs. I close the shop down and just stick it up there, and I read them off like that. But maybe one day we'll grow it big enough where it will warrant putting it on YouTube like that.
And see, in Grenada actually has a 12-inch limit. You can't keep anything under 12 inches on that.
So
lake.
Do you think that helps? I mean,
it does. It does. I mean, but that's a very healthy lake. I mean, a lot of things has to go right for a lake like that to produce the fish that they do.
So all the people coming from Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan have took a toll on what Weiss once was, but it's still a good crappie lake. Hey, that's very interesting. That that happens.
Yeah.
Once a lake gets a name.
Yeah.
Robbie Woody is not in Georgia. It's in Mississippi. Yep. Northern Mississippi.
Northern. It's
ish.
Yeah. It's
upper.
It's third, north. It's north of Jack. Yeah. North. If you're on 20, it's north of 20. It's probably 45 minutes north.
I got
on I-20.
What's up, Chad? How you doing, bud? What is the best crappie lake? I said it for you. In the state of Georgia, in your estimation. If you had to go,
the one that I enjoy fishing the most.
I think you'll surprise us.
Yeah, I'm curious.
The one that I enjoy fishing the most, or do I think is the actual best?
Well, let's do first. The one you enjoy fishing the most.
So it's going to be a close tie between Oconee and Blackshear for that I enjoy fishing the most.
And reason why you enjoy fishing those the most?
Just the how you can fish, right? So Blackshear has a mixture of white and black crappie. So that's
down around Macon, right?
South
of like Macon?
Cordell. I think it's Cordova, one of those. Yeah, south of Macon. Yeah. Like, I personally enjoy, fishing brush piles or timber, suspended fish, that kind of thing.
Right.
I like shooting docks, but I'd much rather fish open water, fish timber, those things.
Okay.
And Oconee and Blackshear both have tons of timber everywhere.
Okay.
They also have docks if you want to shoot docks. They also have tons of brush piles and things everywhere. And then open water, obviously, in the winter times, you can fish but you can fish open water pretty much anywhere.
Let me ask you this question, and then let's do this first. What lake do you think has the best potential to be the best, or is the best overall crappie lake in Georgia?
So I think it's going to be Clarks Hill. Clarks Hill has a lot of big
fish. There,
fish.
didn't you? Didn't you fish a bass tournament there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Russell actually has some good fish in it too. I haven't got to fish Russell yet, but I know that some big fish have come out of there.
Okay.
Then one place I haven't got to go yet, but I know there's big fish in it too, is Seminole. Seminole has huge black crappie in it.
Okay.
Huge.
Way on down south on the border.
I saw a couple. I never caught one.
Yeah,
but-
they
you
have
just
big
fished Seminole
fish.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you fished down there a couple weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
What about Eufaula, man?
Eufaula.
Eufaula has tons of fish. It's got all the timber and brush piles and docks and everything too. And you can catch big fish out of Eufaula, but there's also a lot of 10 to 12 inches. But
A lot of
it's big
alligators,
fish. Big
Danny
fish.
don't
though,
deal with
yeah.
big lizards.
Yeah.
And I'll get to this other question, but what is the greatest crappie lake in the country right now? Would be
Grenada,
Grenada, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And then he put what is the easiest place to catch crappie in Georgia?
The easiest?
The easiest place to catch crappie in Georgia, other than a farm
I
pond.
mean, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, so Latham, and listen, everybody keeps
yeah.
they see. I got to get Kyle on it. But Latham has some really good crappie. Hickory Log in Canton has got some good crappie, and I found out that Rocky Mountain PFA in Rome
No, they do too. Yeah.
has some good crappie.
Mhm.
And the one thing now, I don't know about Hickory Log, but I know Latham's got a ton of bait.
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain's got a ton of bait. I'm sure there are others, but Latham has some good fish if you know where to find them. I mean, there's certain places they stack up, but you can get some big ones. But so the easiest place in Georgia, like and that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
I mean, if I tell you what, how about this? In your tournament trails and places you fish, where do you catch the most at?
Oconee,
Okay,
Blackshear.
so down there.
Yeah.
And I would think that would be the easiest place if you catch the most. I mean, numbers wise.
Yeah, I mean, Oconee would be is easier to me because there's a ton of brush piles out there, and usually they all have fish, right? Like I found a ton of brush piles on Lanier, and
God, don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody because I mean seriously.
Well,
don't say you found them because I'll have 52 people more. That ATX guy was fishing my brush pile.
I mean, but I've found tons, but maybe half of them will actually have crappie on them and things. Probably not even that many.
Let me piggyback on that. Bass guys are notorious for being protective of their brush piles. Have you ever had a bass guy come up to you and fuss at you or kind of try to nudge you out or gripe a little bit because you're fishing their brush pile?
No, I've had them look at me though. As they're
and you finally just go, "Hey, dude, I'm crappie fishing."
Oh yeah, you can tell.
But they can tell too. I say that, but a lot of people, if they sit over brush piles bass fishing, they're drop shotting right, which is essentially the same thing as I do if I'm fishing a brush pile.
You're a lot of vertical. Yeah, you're vertical.
I mean, I've found tons of people's bass brush piles, right?
Yeah,
because of where they are. I mean, you can tell
on Lanier.
Yeah, I mean, and where they are, and I may see one or two bass in them. There's no crappie in them, but there may be one or two bass and things. But like I said, I don't fish a ton of brush piles on Lanier just because the ones I have found and fish, they're smaller fish that I've found, and they're deep. So I'd much rather shoot docks or go, up the river and fish, shallower stuff.
Michael Hickory Log has a ton of bait also, but I don't know that Hickory Log was stocked with bait unless they've just started doing it recently. I don't know that the city of Canton actually put, or whoever owns it actually puts them in like Mark and them do at Latham. So I don't know what fry they're hitting. If it's threadfin, I maybe they started stocking them and stuff like that.
Good crappie fishing on Hickory Log before it opened.
That's right. You got to fish Hickory Log a little bit before it opened.
Yeah, that was on accident. Yeah, the police. Tell us
a little bit about that there, Beasley.
Oh yeah, so
he's a troublemaker from way back.
Yeah, I mean, it was me and my dad. That was way before he had a bass boat or anything. Just out on the canoe. I was pretty young. He's like, "Oh, here's a lake right here. Let's go fish it." So we're like, "All right."
The typical redneck. Hey, there's water. Let's fish it.
There's not a fence around it, right?
No, right.
Exactly. So we were able to pull up. There were no signs or nothing, so we just dumped in right there. Just went fishing, and probably one of the best days ever. I mean, it was literally you just cast it anywhere and you caught them. I mean, it literally didn't matter. Crappie, massive bluegill, all that stuff. And yeah,
public yet.
What public?
Exactly.
That's right.
And then we're just fishing
Okay, Brian,
around.
thank you on that.
John Long.
And then old Mr. Police Officer was going down the road and he flashed his lights and we're like, oh, please don't be us. And then he turned around and came to where that little ramp thing is, and no, it was for us. And we had to paddle over there, and he's like, this isn't open, and we're like, oh. But he was understandable. I mean, we didn't get in trouble. He just told us to leave. So it was a good time.
So
I think it was worth it for sure.
Worth it?
Oh yeah, it was worth it.
Okay, so Brian said they put thread fit in a few years ago. Okay, good. I didn't know that. So that's good. If you couldn't use your own lures, what would you use?
Well, I use hand ties.
Minnows.
I mean,
Can you use minnows in a tournament?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, but do
And
you make fun of those guys?
No, because I have them in the boat, but there may be one out of it by the time the end of the tournament goes. Just because,
It's a backup plan.
very, very, very seldomly, but it does happen sometimes. They won't hit plastics a lot. I mean, that doesn't hardly happen, and I don't hardly use them, but I have them in case I need them.
Just in case.
Because of this tournament, I mean, I want to make sure that I have whatever I can catch them with.
So when somebody comes to the weigh-in scale and they've been live bait fishing all day, you don't snob them?
No, I mean, it's however you want to catch them.
Do other guys snob them? You might just be the nice guy. Honestly, be honest. There are some people like it should be outlawed.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely people out there like that, right? I mean, some places they've tried to, and they have them every once in a while, artificial only, one pole tournaments, artificial only kind of thing.
Right.
But I mean, most of the people on the big major trails, I mean, they use live bait too. I mean, because they spider rig with them a lot too, right? So you
can spider rig in a crappie tournament.
Yeah. I mean, you can troll.
You can do anything.
Yeah, you can troll, spider rig, you can single pole.
Really? Because like in bass, you can't troll.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of single pole tournaments that people put on, right? So you can only use one pole at a time, and you can only use artificial. But I mean, I use hand ties, so I use a company called Jack 'em Jigs out of Illinois.
Okay.
They make some great hand ties, and I use those because sometimes they'll hit feather or hand ties over plastics.
You think just the movement, the fluctuation,
the size, because once they get wet, they're real small. They're small, kind of short kind of thing. So I'll use those. Plastics. There's a company out of Texas. It's called Constant Pursuit. They make some really good plastics, and they just have different styles
that you don't
different body shapes, different styles kind of thing, right?
But you primarily use yours?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I use 95% of the time.
Okay.
Again, I have the other stuff in the boat, right? Because
just in case,
if I can't catch them on what I have, then I'm gonna hopefully I have something in the boat that would work, right?
You okay, Beazle? Huh? Was it something that he said, or was it something? Beazle's having a choking episode. I just don't say that ever again. I just want to know. I just wanted to know if it was something he said that made you choke up right there and all that. Bass guys come up to a dock.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them do it, skipping docks.
Yeah.
Skipping docks. But you guys, do you do any skipping, or is it always shooting?
No, it's always shooting.
All right. So explain to everybody. I know most people have heard it, but just your technique for shooting a dock.
Yeah. So a lot of people will grab the jig, the head of the jig.
They grab the head,
but I grab the hook. Because if I grab the head, I'm going to get hooked when I let it go. It's just going to happen.
Okay, so you just know.
So I grab the hook, and pull it back. I'm holding the line. I have the bell flip right on the rod, on the reel. Hold it back, and then get the tension on the rod. So I'm bending the rod, not in half.
You're letting the rod use.
Yeah, this doing the force that'll shoot. So I let go, and it'll just shoot, under the dock or things like that. Because you don't really skip because it's not heavy enough, right? You can't really skip it. You got to have some kind of force behind it to get it to shoot, right?
What's the biggest mistake somebody that's learning how to shoot a dock, what's the biggest mistake they make?
Letting go of the hook but not the line on the bell that they're holding. So
so it's got to be simultaneous.
Yeah, you gotta do it at the same time.
Simultaneous.
Right? That's the big one. Another's not pulling it back hard enough, to have enough tension on the rod to shoot.
Let me get this going. What do you think about the Jinko baits? I'm not a crappie guy. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, Jinko. They do everything. They have rods. They have baits. They have even hand ties and plastics. I haven't personally used them. I know people that do. They make, from what I've seen recently, and I could be wrong, a lot of their plastics are kind of bigger bigger size stuff, like 2-inch and bigger. I don't know
Mhm.
if they make the small 1.5-inch, 1 3/4 kind of thing. And I've started using a lot smaller baits when I moved here than what I had before. Again, because out in Texas is all the white crappie, and they tend to like the bigger stuff.
Like the bigger stuff like that.
But they make good stuff. I mean, their rods are really nice too.
Okay. And then Jeremiah's back, and now I'm going to read this one again because this is the second time. Crappie on top water is fun. They'll grab a little minnow plugs and poppers right off the surface in the shallow water. Now, again, I've never caught crappie on top water. Never fished for them on top water.
I haven't either.
No, you mentioned something like fly fishing, didn't you, Beazle? Was that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, fly fishing for crappie. Now, do they come? Now, is your top water crappie bite similar to a bass, or is it more than just coming up and sucking it under?
Well, I've never top water fished for crappie, but I would assume it would be them sucking it under because that's kind of how they bite.
That's really a
everything,
crappy question,
right?
knowing that you ain't never done that
Right.
before. I just assumed that you've done everything.
No, I mean, I don't. Which this time of year in the springtime when they're 2 foot deep, I mean, why not throw something on top and if they're in that area, and if they're shallow, I mean, they'll see it. Obviously you're not gonna top water fish for a crappie that's 15 foot deep, right? But
can
I mean,
you pull them
shallow,
up? Can you pull them up like you can a spot? I had a guy coming here today from Ohio. He's going to work in Canton for the next 8 months. So he's asking me about the lakes, and he said, "Does Georgia have any good fishing?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I mean," but I was telling him about the top water on Lanier bite going that'll be kicking up soon. But you can call those fish up. I was telling him, you can have a spot on a 30-foot brush pile. You bring the right topwater bait, that spot will attack it from that deep. Do crappie have that mentality, or are they pretty much?
I don't know. I've had them come 10. I've had them come 10 foot.
Okay,
that's about as far as I've had a crappie move to hit a bait.
So they're not as aggressive, but I guess that was my question, because you're not doing top water. But if you see them down at 30 and you come across at 15 or 20 foot, they will come up occasionally.
I've had them occasionally come up. A lot of times they don't. I would think white crappie would more than black, because in my experience they're a little more aggressive.
Okay.
On the lakes around here. Now some lakes they'll hit anything.
Right.
Like I've crappie fished on a lake in Illinois with one of my pro staff guys, and I had to get used to fishing the way they were fishing, because they were fishing, maybe 10 foot deep, but they were using 1/4 ounce jig heads in 10 foot deep.
So they must have
they would like swing it out, and then it would basically swing down through, the stake beds or whatever they have. And as it's falling down, 10 miles an hour, however fast it's going, because it's a 1/4 ounce jig head and you're only 10 foot deep. I mean, those white crappie would come out and just and nail it. And I'm just like, I don't know how. It's like a pendulum swinging down. That's how fast it was going.
I got you. So but it was working, and just let it fall.
Yeah, and it was working. But you do that here, they're just gonna probably swim away, because
something
that fast coming through there.
So I've caught several crappie off jerk baits, and usually they are good ones. And that's like that's like what I was saying over Latham. I can remember throwing a big, not no junior, but a big. Yeah.
I mean, if you're bass fishing and you catch a crappie bass fishing, it's normally going to be big.
Oh, they were good ones.
Yeah,
they were good ones, but they were aggressive. It wasn't a subtle bite.
Right.
I mean, granted, it wasn't top water. It was just underneath where I was twitching and seeing it. But I mean, I watched that fish just swirl on it, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh, they can be aggressive a lot of times. I mean, and sometimes not.
I got you. My son has caught a white crappie on a spy bait. Again, I can see that bringing a spy bait through.
Yeah.
Again today, went and fished Latham. We were bass fishing, but I threw the Kitech that I was throwing. I put it on a Lanier baits, 1/4 ounce. But I was trying to get down. I was trying to catch bass.
Right.
But 2.8 French pearl Kitech, and I've known some guys that have been catching some crappie on Latham. Basically bass fishing while crappie fishing and all that, and they'll get on a school of crappie, and they do pretty good with that. So they can be aggressive.
Yeah.
That's not a slow moving bait, because again, 1/4 ounce like that. Real quick before we get over to the end of all this, let's go how what's the differences right now in the spring? You said they're moving up. They're kind of deep because the cold kicked them back, but they're getting ready to move up and spawn.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have a month or so, maybe a month and a half of really good shallow water.
Yep.
All right, and then the heat of the summer is going to kick in.
Yeah.
All right, so what will those fish do in general? I know all lakes are a little bit different, but in general, what will crappie do going into the summer months?
They're going to go back deep.
Okay,
depending on the lake.
When you say deep,
Well, it depends on the lake, right? So, like in the dead of summer on Lanier, because it's a deep lake, I catch crappie on 20 to 25 foot brush piles on the bottom, right?
Okay.
Also catch a lot of yellow perch doing that too. They're down there with them.
On Lanier.
Yeah, on Lanier. They're not huge, but there's a ton down
but the
there
yellow
too.
perch and the crappie kind of tend to congregate together a little bit.
On some of the brush pile in the locations that I've fished. Yeah, the crappie will be a little higher on the brush pile, and then the yellow perch are going to be pretty close to the bottom.
All right, and so you're pretty much going. So as far as docks, deep water docks and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll still be under docks. They'll be deeper though. So I tend to not fish docks in the summertime, because the ones that I fished or found, they're going to be pretty deep, and I don't want to sit there and shoot under a dock and wait 5 minutes for it to sink all the way down. Yeah.
Too.
So
okay, I got you.
Yeah, so I like to fish, brush piles. I mean, summertime they're going to hold tight to structure. Lakes like Oconee, I mean, they may be that deep, but they'll also be a little bit shallower too.
Okay.
So it just depends. But structure, I mean, in Texas, the lake that was close to me when I was out there, the deepest part of it was like 30 foot, maybe. Gotcha. So I mean, we were catching in the dead of summer, and it was very stained. It was a really stained lake. We were catching crappie in, 7 foot of water in the dead of summer.
Okay.
On brush piles. Right.
Okay.
So, but the big thing is they'll be on structure. They'll be tight to structure
in the summertime.
So
they get real structure. Whereas like right now, you're talking about seeing them suspended. Summertime, they get real structure oriented.
Yeah, and right now they move so much. I mean, a ton of people can catch them because they're fishing off the bank and that kind of thing. But I don't. This is not my favorite time to fish. This is probably my least favorite time to fish for crappie is in the springtime.
And why is that?
Just because they're moving so much. One day they'll be on the banks, next day they'll be somewhere else.
I got your bridge pilings at night in the summer.
Yep,
yeah,
that too.
Structure.
Yep.
Structure.
So my favorite time to fish is fall and winter time.
Okay, so
I love fall and winter.
So let's go. We went through the summertime. They're deep on structure. Going into the fall, what do they do?
So they'll still be on structure in the fall. Before the water temperature gets really, really cool. And then pretty much in the dead of wintertime, they're off structure. They're going to be, I've found a lot of fish in mouths of coves, creek channels, river channels, just kind of suspended. They're out roaming around. They're swimming around, roaming around, and
do they follow bait balls like everything else?
Yeah, they do. They do. But you can also find a lot just kind of swimming, just suspended out, in 10 to 15 foot. Sometimes they may be even as shallow as 5 foot, but they're going to be in 40 foot of water.
And that's going to go through all winter, pretty much, back until you get back to this time again.
All winter, and like this past weekend, I was fishing, up the river, and I was fishing in, 15-ish foot of water, and they were, because it was still cold, they were stuck on the bottom. Whereas the weekend before, it was a little warmer. I was fishing in 8 foot, and they were suspended 4 foot. In 8 foot of water, off the river channel, things like that. Okay,
I'm gonna ask you this question too before we get going. Well, that's as country as it sounds, right? I did a podcast with Fluke Master Gene Jensen, and he was talking about he likes to catch his crappie. And you and I may have talked about this. When he fishes for crappie and he catches them in the wintertime, that's when he keeps them. He made the statement in that in the summertime they get parasites. And he thinks the meat's better when he catches them in the winter. You got any opinion on that?
No, I don't. I've kept them year round.
No problem like that.
No,
it was one of the stranger statements that I've heard on one of my podcasts. I was like, interesting,
Yeah, I mean, in the summertime, it's good to, if you're going to keep fish, when you catch them, put them on ice, right? I mean, it's so hot. Livewell's hot still, because the water temperature is hot. Livewell's hot. If you're going to leave them in there, they're not going to survive very long. Right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, in the summertime, it's always good. I mean, if you're going to keep fish, just throw them on ice when you catch them. And I mean, I haven't had any difference.
All right. I want to make sure before we head on out that you have an opportunity to talk a little bit about ATX, kind of what you're doing, where you're at, how people, of course, we have some here at Fish North Georgia, but where people can find and maybe plans that you have for your company.
Yeah. So, so a little background, if some people, don't know, I started the company about 4 or 5 years ago when I lived in Austin, Texas, which is kind of where ATX came from, because Austin, Texas. And when I moved to Georgia, I've had a ton of people, you going to change your name? No, I'm not changing the name. It's still going to be, it's still good. No, it's still there. It's still the name, right? So I've lived, in Georgia for, probably over 3 years now.
That's a good question. You ever had a fizz of crappie?
I have.
That's a question. Good question, Michael, that I ain't thought about.
I have, especially if you're tournament fishing.
You have a dead fish penalty in a tournament?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a penalty, but we don't. Yeah, there's a penalty, but if they're dead, because a lot of people, which I do as well, is I'll catch, I'll keep a couple of extra fish when I'm weighing in 7, right? If one dies, I'll, replace it or whatever. But yeah, they have to be alive at weigh in.
Okay. All right. That's good.
But, I have had to fizz crappie before, and a couple of lakes in Texas in the wintertime, you cannot throw crappie back because they're catching them so deep. So it's actually Lake Fork and Lake of the Pines, which are two of the best crappie lakes in Texas.
Okay.
Is if you catch any fish from I think it's November to February or something, you have to keep every fish you catch. Okay. Which is a 25 fish limit. But
right.
So the first 25 you keep, you catch, you have to keep. It doesn't matter if it's 6 inches long. Doesn't matter if it's 3 pounds.
Okay.
You have to keep. You have, because of that reason, because they're so deep.
Right.
And when they release them, most people don't fizz them or do anything, and they don't survive.
Gotcha.
Because they're so deep.
I got you. All right. So I did. St. Peter's just beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. Holy Toledo!
Wow. Yep.
Wow. All right. Hey, there's your upset. That's a 1 versus a 16 right there, I think, is it not? Or at least a 2 versus 15, something like that. But anyway, So back to ATX. Yep. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So we do have them. I do have them in a few stores around the lake and then here, obviously. As we said earlier, so Sherry's Bait and Barbecue, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, they both have them. We have a website, atxlures.com. I sell majority of my stuff through the website. I also have them in a bunch of stores, through in other states and things like that. I actually just sent a big order to Bay Springs Marina on Weiss. Okay. They just got a big order there.
I saw that. I saw your post.
Yeah, so they have a lot of stuff there. I've been extremely busy recently. That's
awesome.
It's good. It's because I have a full-time job, so I don't do this full-time. I have a full-time job as well, so I do it on the side. Extremely busy. I'm working to actually increase production a lot because right now I'm kind of making by order, and it takes a lot to do that and a lot of time to do that. Mm-hmm. So once I can catch up on what I'm currently doing, I will change my process a little bit and be able to increase production, and I'll have a bunch of back stock. So hopefully when people order from then, they won't have to wait, a week or 2 weeks or however long it is, depending on how busy I am.
I know with the jigs.
So hopefully, versus, 1 to 2 weeks, it'll be 1 to 2 to 3 days I can get things out. And then I can make sure to always have, every week I'll decide or figure out what I need to make that week because I'm running low on. I'll go out and make it and have back stock. So it's growing for sure. I appreciate everyone, local around here too that have bought and continue to buy from Fish North Georgia and the other stores around the lake, because if nobody buys them from there, they're not going to continue to buy them and they're not going to be there, right? So everybody, you're more than welcome to obviously order from me on the website or anything, but I would urge to go shop at the local places that have them, right? Because they're still ordering it from me as well. So if they sell them from the store, if they're selling them from the store, that just means I need to restock the store, and then it'll continue to order them. So
I got you. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming up here. Paul really harps on us, and we get bass heavy. But to be Fish North Georgia, we got to cover it all, right?
Catch all the fish.
Catch all the fish. So, but I appreciate you coming up, and you'll be back
for sure.
when we do future episodes. And I need to get you on Latham.
Yep. I'm ready.
I'll get you on Latham when he's done.
I will say
we do. We need to.
Yeah. Hey, we can do that too. I will say so. I know we didn't get the pictures and stuff able to put on here, but I did post those in the Fish North Georgia group last Sunday, I guess.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So if you go on the page and search, just search my name on the page, it'll bring it up, and you can see the short video and the pictures that I had posted on there. So
awesome, a good deal, man. I appreciate you coming out now. Yep, all right, now guys. So first, let me apologize for the snafu at the beginning. The first half hour of the show, it happens. But for those of you that are the diehards and you stuck around, man, you just don't know what you guys mean to us here. And so we appreciate you guys. If you go fishing this weekend, hey, give me a little bit of a report so I can do that Tuesday night. You guys on the Facebook Fish North Georgia group page, make sure you check us out there. 8 p.m. Tuesday night. We'll try to give you as much information as we get, and I'm hoping to grow that out. And then we will have another episode of the Livewell next week. We will make sure that everything is up and running as it should be. And hopefully we won't have anything because Lord knows I don't know how to help Paul when things go. I'm as clueless as it is. As it.
I'll come back
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, guys, you have a good.
Get your deadbeat buddies to
Yeah.
we'll
you
get
know,
those.
I don't.
I'm gonna
I
talk
don't
to them
know.
tomorrow. But anyway, guys, hey, look, we appreciate you guys. You guys have a safe, wonderful, blessed weekend. And again, share about the raffle that we're doing to help the Virtue Recovery House all through the month, the rest of this month, and all the way to Easter. We're going to be raising money for that good cause, and we're going to give away a Mega Live to somebody. So we appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.